So the electric vehicle market is a bit volatile these days, and especially when it comes to the smaller players like Nio and Xpeng. And a couple of weeks ago, I made a video on Nio and was quite kind of cautiously optimistic with Nio. And I think these couple of weeks, past weeks, delivery numbers in China kind of indicates that that case is still well and alive. We can see that, these are, let's say, the past 5 weeks. And you can see that the worst one was at the April 15th to 21st and just below 3,000. Then 5,000, middle 3,000 and middle 4,000 and now 5.5. So these are definitely looking good. And if you actually put it on a chart, you can see that here you can see. So the green numbers are for the previous year and this is for this year. And right now I'm kind of looking at 15,400 cars delivered in May till the 26th, which was Sunday. That would say that we have still how many days is it in this month? It's 31st. Okay, so we would have another 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 days. So 5 more days left in May, and I would say like it's realistic to assume at least 4,000, 3,500, and maybe 4,000. We know that traditionally Nio is very good in the last couple of days of the month. Let's say the last week of the month is usually very strong. So maybe 4,000 or 5,000. So we could get close to 20,000 this month for May. And right now, without those 5 additional days, we are at 61,000 cars roughly delivered this year. So this is good. I mean, especially considering that the January and February usually slow. And I've said in the previous video, which I will link to here, but you can see that these like blue numbers here that are a bit shaded out, it's like my estimations going forwards, and assuming that we'll have 20,000 in June, July and August, and then at some point a bit of a ramp. And also, you know that Nio obviously launched their new second brand, Onvo, 10 days ago roughly, and this will be produced in or being able to sell in, let's say, Q3 this year. So things looking good. I mean, also the lithium price, you can see here, like if we look at the 5-year, you can see that it's still holding those low levels. So this is good for the gross margin because this affects the battery price. So I don't think as of right now there's nothing that looks too bad. And you can see actually there's other good news for Nio, because you can see here that Xpeng is not doing that great. I would say that Nio is clearly coming off very strong, and not only is that Xpeng is quite a bit less than Nio is kind of getting substantial amount of market share, especially compared to someone like Tesla. BYD is in their league of their own, but we know also that BYD is active in a much lower price segment. So these are like, let's say more expensive cars. But also the interesting one for me is that how Nio is kind of getting close to Li Auto. Li Auto they have been very strong over the past 18 months, and they are selling also hybrids. So it's not fair to compare them because Nio is selling fully electric cars and quite expensive ones. And looking at this table, you can see here that Q1 wasn't that great, but again, we've shown you that it's due to the January and February and the Chinese New Year holidays, and so it was the same case last year. But going back to, let's say, this chart again, you can see that so Q1 is not going to be good, but don't worry, because I think on the earnings, which by the way will happen on the 6th of June, I think on the earnings we will see that Nio is gonna give a good guidance. My estimations is that we should be between 55, if lucky, 60,000 cars in Q2. Now, this could still end up being wrong, maybe lower, closer to 50, because you never know, because here again, I'm assuming that the June number will also be at 20,000. I mean, at this point, it's like just a couple of days left until we're in June, so I think unless something really, really bad happens, in terms of consumer price in China, it's a safe bet. But yeah, just be cautious, like it's just estimations. But I think, yeah, let's say assuming 55,000, so we would have a delivery on a quarterly basis from Q1 of 2021, something like this. This is not like beautiful in a sense that, you know, these up and downs, but yeah, these two bad quarters again were explained by the very weak demand in the last year in Q1 and Q2, and also the Chinese New Year. But this drop here is mostly due to, yeah, Q1 being weaker, and we also that Nio had their new 2024 model lineup update, so maybe a lot of people weren't buying the cars, are waiting, and they were waiting for, you know, the updated year model. So yeah, I think like we will definitely we are bound to see this one go back up again to 55,000, to somewhere like this. So yeah, everything in my opinion looks promising. We know that Tesla is kind of having a rough time. They are not bound to increase their market share at all this year, and most likely gonna lose substantial market share globally. But you can see that these are more estimated numbers for total sales for 2024. The dark green is Tesla. I mean, since considering that Q1 was less than Q1 of last year, and Q2 definitely will be less than Q2 of last year, maybe I should dial back this increase of 300,000 to even, like, if they now come in at 1.8 million, it would be good at this stage. But then yeah, BYD is obviously very strong, nothing to say there. Xpeng is gonna have a tough time to reach this number here, as of it looks like now. But let's wait and see. Maybe this should be dialed back to 140, 150, 60,000. I don't know. Obviously, the second half of the year should be stronger, but yeah, let's wait and see. For Nio is interesting. Again, if we go back here to the weekly insurance, you can see that 5,400. That's good. And with the new, with the new model Onvo coming online, you could probably see these weekly insurance numbers going to 7, 8, 9,000 at some point late this year. So would I put it past them to be able to reach these kind of, estimations of 22,000 in, let's say, in September, and ramping up all the way above 30,000 in December? I think it's possible, because remember that right now we are roughly 50% better than the same period, the first 5 months of 2023. And on that assumption, if we are, let's say, 50% better than these green bars here for the second half of the year, it could possibly mean, like, on average, these numbers probably average out to just around 18,000. So 50% higher than 18,000 should mean, I don't know, let's say 27,000 cars on average. So these blue bars could be on average 27,000 cars. And I think that's possible, just based on this, at the pace of increase that we are right now compared to last year. But then again, that doesn't include Onvo, the second brand that's going to launch Q3 and Q4. And if you add that to it, it's possible that this could even be more. But then there's also, the question of, are people gonna, wait for the new Onvo brand, and maybe the general Nio brand takes a hit late this year, in Q3, or people are like gonna buy less Nios and wait for the Onvo? So is some sort of dynamic of cannibalization coming on there? We don't know that. So that's why I think let's be cautious here, and and I think some people would say this is quite optimistic, but I don't know. I think let's be cautious. We don't know, how much of a cannibalization is gonna be there, or if any at all, because they are, at the end of the day, different price segments. But you never know. Some people maybe are, happy with the quality of Onvo, so why should you spend more on a more expensive Nio? It's difficult to say, but this is everything that you should consider. But yeah, so at the moment, looking at the stock price, not looking too good stock price wise, although the pre-market is good today. But yeah, let's see what happens, and thank you for watching, and see you in the next one.